Hi, I'm Steve Bignanti doing the Junkyard Crawl at Backyard Auto in rural New Hampshire with something very cool, literally and figuratively. It's a 1964 Plymouth Valiant convertible. In 1964, 227,000 Valiants were sold, of which there was 42% of all Plymouth sales in 1964. So the majority of the cars sold by Plymouth were Valiants. The compact cars in 1964 are darn near. Again, 42% of all Plymouths sold in 64 were Valiants. But of those, only 7,636 were convertibles like this. The price on this thing new was $2,473, which is $217 more than a hardtop. So let's dig in a little bit here. You can see this one's been through the ringer, literally and figuratively. But again, it has the typical New England rust, broken in half like the Titanic. Hasn't sunk yet, though. But under the hood, of course, we have the slant six, either the 170 or the 225. This is the 225 to the taller hose between the water pump and the cylinder head. So 225, another 50, I think $40 for this versus the 170. For another $110 or so, the 273 two-barrel was a possibility. Of course, manual steering, the aluminum box right there, and unit construction on these things. A double-edged sword. It's great because it's light, but it's also very rust prone. And all steel construction on these things. In 64, you could get aluminum fenders on your Hemi Savoy, but this is not aluminum, and it's not a Hemi Savoy either, for that matter. But it is a convertible, making it a pretty uncommon vehicle. Once again, there were 7,636 of these things ordered and built. And this one has the base engine, which is again, the slant six, 3-speed manual. You can see it right there poking through the floor. And that's a manual 3 on the column. The pedals are gone, but with that said, at the end of that transmission is something called the ball and trunnion style U-joint. And the companion flange right there accepts as a ball and sort of a sliding flange inside of that circular housing right there. Great piece. It can be, they put those things behind max wedges, and they're certainly very durable for this kind of work. In fact, there are 3 different sizes. The small one used on A bodies, a medium-sized one used on B bodies, and a full-size one on Chryslers and Imperials, the difference being the internal components on the ball and trunnion structure. And the seats, this would have had a bench up front. This was a Valiant 200. The Signet would have had buckets up front, but again, the 200 series, which we have here, is what we have. And of course, the radio is the AM radio. It's a trans audio, $64 well spent. Standard would have no radio whatsoever. And I'm not going to reach in there to see what's in the ashtray, but it has some stuff. It looks rusty, and probably some old bulbs or something like that. But anyway, the roof on this thing is manually operated. Interesting to look at, though. It's basically some die-cast aluminum stuff right here. Heavy-duty stuff. It's steel. That's what that is. It's not aluminum. Maybe it is. It's a metal of some kind. It might be aluminum. I think it might be aluminum. It's not. It's turning white, so it's aluminum stuff merged with the steel header right here, which is, I think, glued. Yeah, it's fastened with an adhesive to the front, up to the header right there. And again, manual roof on this. The power top was not possible, I don't think, on these cars. The B bodies, yes, but the A bodies were very efficient economy type cars, so manual roofs on these things almost certainly. Let's confirm that. Yeah, it's all still there, and no sign of a motor or a pump here, so manual top. And interesting to see right here, this is a Barracuda deck lid right here, very short, the same basic bones under a Barracuda. See it right here? And the trunk lid on a Barracuda is smaller and shorter. Was once a red Barracuda inside, so must have been a pretty car way back when. The deck lids on these cars, Gary, who owns this place, tells me the deck lids on these things very, very scarce. 64 Valiant convertible, this deck lid right here, it's in pretty good shape. Well, no, it's got some crust, but again, this deck lid right here is something very uncommon. You can't find them really much anywhere. So what people do is sometimes fix these things up to make something workable out of a rusty piece like this. You can see right here, the quarter panel right here. There's a seam right here with the stamping outer and inner, and right here would be a chrome piece right here hiding the fact that these are welded together with spot welds. And when the chrome's going, you can see the seam right there where the hidden truth behind the curtain, as it were. And the seats, so this has bucket seats right here. You can see, this might not have been to this car, but this is a bucket seat from something. But here's the inner structure of a Mopar bucket seat right here. Metal, the foam is long gone, become dust long ago. And of course the filler on this out the side. And the gas filler right here, the cap goes right here. And pretty convenient, although the only bummer is on the driver's side. So you have to remember which side of the pump to pull up to when you're getting gas. Whereas on GM cars, generally the filler's in the back under the license plate in the middle of the car, so either side is okay. The hose will reach either side if it's in the back. But on the Mopars or like this, you have to pull up the correct side of the pump, or you have to turn around and do it again. So, and we have here the classic, again, Mopar rust happening right here. The quarter panels, the wheel lips are gone. The flapper and the rockers down here, long gone. And if we hit X-ray vision, we would see the torque boxes down under here. Of course, convertibles have extra structures underneath. Probably can't get to it here. Yeah, the snow is going to be in the way, but it's a structure at the head of the leaf spring right here. It's kind of a boxed area right there that gives more rigidity to the floor pan. And also there's going to be a cap on top of the wheelhouse on all convertibles to allow the top stack a place to go. And also the cross beam that connects the two wheelhouses to give more rigidity to the back of the car. Without the roof, they're flexible. This makes it less flexible. And, good example of a 1964, a fun car, a little, slant six convertible, 3-speed manual. This push button torque light would have been additional $140 or so to have the buttons right here, but not seen on this car in the yard. So that's the story of this 1964 Valiant 200 convertible. Again, only 7,636 were made of these things, very uncommon, nothing left to save. Although the A-pillar is still pretty decent, it's well out of the way of rust, so I guess you could maybe slice and dice this if you needed it, if you had a car that doesn't get crushed. There's some good stuff on this you could perhaps use to bring another car back from the dead. That's the story of this 1964 Plymouth convertible. Hope you liked this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Maggs YouTube channel and come back tomorrow for more Junkyard Crawl. Ring the bell so you know when the next video is out, which again is tomorrow morning. Thank you for watching.